Oh man, I did the press launch and now it's here on my home turf. I am ready for this first ride. What's going on, guys? Chaseontwowheels here at Matt Motorsports in Roswell. In front of me, I finally have the 2023 Ducati Desert X, which is Ducati's adventure bike. You guys have probably known, if you're a fan of the channel, I went out to the press launch up in Aspen, Colorado to do the press launch of one of these. I may have bent it a couple times, but it's okay. So Ducati finally got us a loaner bike. We're actually going to have this one for a month, but today is the first ride. I get to ride it on my regular first ride route. I am so excited to get to test it where I live, not on some dream location, to see if I like this thing as much now as I did during the press launch. We have this handlebar bag. From what I understand, those are the only upgrades we have. So, oh, and the skid plate. Can't forget the skid plate. Now that we've got that over with, this is a first ride, so let's see what it looks like, and let's see what it sounds like. Alrighty, my friends, that's what the bike looks like. That's what it sounds like. Now, before we get started, this video is not sponsored, but it is supported by WBRgarage.com. We are currently building a 2018 Yamaha R6. It's going to be turned into an R6M. It is going to be disgustingly cool, and we're going to give it away when we're done building it. If you guys want to win that bike, all you got to do is go to WBRgarage.com, either grab a membership level or grab some merch, and whatever you do over there, the website will automatically enter you to win a Yamaha R6. You can get in as little as $5 and you can win an entire motorcycle. Thank you, any of you guys that are already over there supporting. Now, a couple other things I noticed. It looks like we have a radiator guard as well. These look aftermarket. They look pretty hefty boys. And I think that's all I noticed. There may be a little other bits and bobs on the bike that are modified. But let's get the phone on the quad lock. I noticed a couple of you guys were asking about what quad lock mount I use. And when it's a handlebar bike, I always use the handlebar mount. But you guys notice I got just like a clamp mount. I use this clamp mount because I'm doing these first rides on bikes left and right. So I want something easy to install onto every motorcycle with a handlebar. That's why I use this. But Quadlock's handlebar mount thing is the way to go with that. So make sure you guys are using that if you're getting a Quadlock mount. And yes, I have a discount code in the description for you guys. You're welcome. Quadlock's a sponsor. That means I get you guys a discount. All right, let's get on this thing. Let's have, as the kids say, a good old time. Do the kids say that? I don't know if the kids say that. All right. So guys, I'm 5'10", got a 32-inch inseam, and I am a tippy-toe boy on this motorcycle today. If you're a taller rider, you're going to appreciate this. If you're a little bit smaller of a rider, you might have a little bit of a challenging time. So, stuff to keep in mind. We do have a lot of modes today, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of them don't really matter to us because we're going to be on road the whole day. But we have sport, urban, touring, wet, enduro, rally. We're not going to really touch rally or enduro. If you guys really want to see what rally and enduro is capable of on this motorcycle, I'll put a link to the press launch video. You're going to get a much better idea there. But for today, you guys know, we're going to start in wet, and it's pretty cool. You can see what this mode is here, which is pretty neat. You know, you guys know Ducati killing the dash cam. So we're going to start in wet to get this video going, and then we'll progress upwards as we go. And guys, we need to get the hell out of here because it's supposed to rain, and I want to get this video done before it rains. Also, guys, if you are fans of motorcycles and you're on Discord, we have a Discord server full of motorcycle enthusiasts that are probably just like you. It's a cool place to check out, and we'll have a link for it in the description. Would love for you guys to check it out. Okay, that truck's turning. Let's go on the Desert X. So, guys, if you're not familiar with the Desert X, this is Ducati's new ADV bike. It's brand new as of, what, a year ago? Something like that. And it's competing with some pretty high-level bikes. Please don't come into this lane. Good God. Yeah, we'll talk about the comparison here in a little while. It is the first start. Let's talk about the body position real quick, guys. So, seat-wise, the seat is kind of this middle ground. It's a little harder than I would expect on an adventure bike, but so far, I've rode it yesterday, rode it today, not really having a problem with the seat at all for road use. Pretty solid. Now, as far as the body position, my legs are slightly back. I'm in a relatively comfortable position, and my arms are kind of out front. They're kind of higher up. But what I've noticed is when I stand up on this bike is in such a good position as far as the handlebars and the foot peg placement. I love this bike's positioning, the way it's set up right now for standing up. For sitting down, my arms are a little high, but that's kind of expected. You can rotate the handlebar to get it in a different position for you depending on the user case you want to be using it on. I've had enough of wet mode. I'm good. I'm gonna go ahead and change the mode on the fly into urban mode, which power is now going to be at medium, but we should have a little less intervention on all of the electronics, which we can talk about the electronics on this bike. You literally have everything. If you guys didn't notice, when we go into the mode selector, we've got wheelie control, traction control, quick shifter. You can turn that on or off. We have ABS and engine brake control. I mean, you kind of look at this motorcycle and you see the dash, which is a really nice dash, but it is tiny. You guys can see it's almost the same size as my iPhone, which is kind of hilarious. But don't let that make you think that Ducati doesn't have all of their typical stuff inside of this motorcycle. It is teched out the wazoo, which is fantastic, especially for some idiot like me that barely knows what they're doing, at least in an off-road setting. So as far as road use for the Desert X, guys, y'all should know at this point, ADV bikes, they do way better on road than they have any right to do, and the Desert X is no different. It is a little heavier, coming in at, I believe, a wet weight of 493 pounds, something thereabouts, which is a pretty heavy thing on paper. You look at 493 pounds, you're like, goodness gracious, that's a lot of weight. You get here on road and you start maneuvering this thing, and it has no problem moving its weight back and forth in the lane. The bike is incredibly stable, and I've loved the power delivery of this 937cc twin. It is such a good time, especially for city riding. It's got that real torquey, fun power delivery, which it just makes it a good time. I do notice when coming to a slow stop, the front wheel is extremely light. Like, moving it back and forth, you end up like doing a lot of moving of that front handlebar to stay balanced. I notice on some of the other ADV bikes that I've been riding, the front's not quite as light as this, but I feel like that's an overall pro. I'm used to those like heavier handlebars, so when I jump on something like this and I've got this like light situation, I'm like, good Lord, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm sure the light handlebar would be very helpful off-road. I have to talk with Ducati and see if I'm allowed to take this thing off-road. It's clearly ready to go as far as what tires are on it, so we'll have to check that out. Let's see if I can get this thing into a stronger mode before this turn. Can we get into sport mode? No, we shouldn't. We should have gone to touring. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. Thank God I was in sport mode. My goodness. Oh, we got a little diving on those handlebars, but that's totally fine. They've probably have this bike set up for a little bit softer suspension. That is a point to note. We do have adjustable suspension both front and rear on this bike. Hopefully you guys don't mind. Do you guys mind if I just skip touring mode and just go straight to sport? I mean, we're in it, right? Like, sport mode is definitely feeling different than both urban and wet. I imagine touring would have gave us a little better of a transition, but I remember from riding this thing in Colorado, sport mode is so fun. It unlocks a lot of power, and you will be shocked how agile and how fun an ADV bike can be on road when you put this thing into sport mode. And now all the memories are coming back. I love it so much. Woo! Man, sport mode is good. I like it. And perfect timing because we're about to be on the highway. As you guys can see, in traffic, I'm in this upright body position. I have phenomenal head checking ability. I've got a really good sense of what's around me. I love that for city riding. And when you have this thing in sport mode, it is so quick. God, Ducati did such a good job mapping out sport mode. I am noticing that there is a good bit of deadband on the throttle. And what I mean by that, I don't know if that's the right word, but basically I have to turn the throttle a couple of degrees before we get any interaction. Watch this and listen for it. I know that probably doesn't look like a lot on camera, but I am having to turn that throttle way more than I really want before it starts actually engaging. And this is like an electronic throttle, so I don't know what's happening with that. That's kind of weird. It's kind of throwing me off with these like slow speed areas. So I don't know what's going on there. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I'm not sure if that's this specific bike or if that's the Desert X in general. But guys, we're getting on the highway. It's time for our 40 to 80 pull. This should be interesting. We're in sport mode and we're on a 2023. Wow, that's awesome. We're on a 2023 Ducati Desert X. 40 to 80 pull on your marks. Letting those cars get a little ahead. On your mark, get set, and go. All the way. Almost got all the way through second gear before I had to shift. That's pretty awesome. Not rip your face off speed, but not bad at all. Also, that car is so cool. My wife would absolutely love that, so I'm gonna get a cool shot of that for her. What? A perfect color, perfect everything. Wow, that's great. All right, guys, we're on the highway with a 2023 Ducati Desert X. We're going far too fast. Actually, you know what? We're touring now, right? We're on the highway. Let's put it in touring mode. This is perfect. All right, so ADV bikes are essentially dirt bikes that you can tour on, or touring bikes that you can do off-road on, right? So this bike, because of its class, should be very good on the highway. And right now, I can tell you the only issue that I'm really sensing is the amount of wind I'm getting about right at my visor. I'm not getting a crazy amount of wind, but I am getting enough wind to kind of bobble my head around a little bit. And as you guys can tell, the windscreen on this bike cannot be adjusted. That's one of the surprising things I noticed when I first rode this bike, is like a non-adjustable windscreen. That's interesting. Hopefully Ducati either makes one or is going to make an adjustable windscreen aftermarket that you can get. But right now, that's one thing that I would like to see. As far as stability on the highway, I'm getting no vibration anywhere. Right now we're going highway speeds at 75 in 6th gear. Even with the Termi exhaust, this bike is just purring with no problems. And if I need to get a little more power, I can shift down some, and I've got plenty of power to get going. With this parallel twin, when you're on the highway, you don't have a ton of power. You're not going to be doing crazy highway stuff, but I don't think you would really want to do that on this bike anyway. For an ADV bike, I want to be on the highway, I want to be comfortable, and I want to have plenty of passing power, and I have all of those things. And one of the most important things is I have cruise control that is easily set. You guys just saw that. That's how easy I set the cruise control. It's one button to the right or to the left, and then one button pressed down. Cruise control is set. Let's double check that we can hit forward on the cruise control. Yep, you push the throttle forward and it disengages cruise control. Love seeing that. The Desert X checks all the boxes that I personally look for on the highway. And these mirrors are doing a fantastic job. I'm not a huge fan of the way they look. I mean, they're circles, they match the headlights, so that's cool. But they don't look like they do a fantastic job, but I'm having no problem seeing behind me and on my corners, so pretty happy with that. We're gonna utilize that quick shifter, go down a couple gears, and get this bike leaned over and see what we feel on the big turn. God, I feel like this bike is going to surprise every one of you guys that rides it. Ducati, knowing they're a more sport-oriented brand, they always keep that like fun riding ability and like that fun, what the hell is that? They always keep that in mind on their bikes, and even trickles into their ADV bike. This bike is so fun leaning over, and it's got the Ducati DNA that, as a Ducati fan myself, like I can't afford a Ducati in my life right now, but every time I ride one, I have to appreciate the fact that Ducati doesn't care what model you're getting from them. Every one of them is going to be fun to ride, and this one is no different at all. You gotta appreciate that. Are we all just chilling? Alright, while I catch up to whatever the hell the kind of car that is, let's jump to the Cardo spot and see what the guys in the camera car think of this bike, thanks to our buddies over at Cardo.
Alright, my favorite part about this Ducati Desert X has got to be the overall concept of this bike, something that we're getting back to the rally raid style bikes, the middleweight, middle CCs, whole bunch of power, whole bunch of fun. I'm a huge fan.
Fun fact of the day, Kayaba, it's just KYB. I found that out like a couple weeks back researching another bike because I didn't know the name. But yeah, Kayaba, just KYB. In the 70s, they brought it over, and nobody could pronounce the name, so they just shortened it to KYB. It's a fun fact of the day.
Alright guys, thank you in the camera car so much for your opinions, and thank you even more so Cardo for sponsoring the First Ride series. If you guys want to get a Bluetooth device for your motorcycle riding, they are the absolute best, and we have a 10% discount code for you in the description. Thank you, Cardo. Alright guys, we are stuck in traffic here, and our little purple blue car friend pulled away. I enjoy this bike too much in sport mode, so I'm going to put it back in sport mode. All we got to do is close the throttle, and we're here. So let's talk about power delivery, guys. Ducati's doing a fantastic job giving you guys tons of rider aids and rider modes that change all the aspects of this bike. It allows you to ride this bike with utter confidence in any situation, which is something I really look for in an ADV bike. I want to be able to conquer the world on these things, and the Desert X does not disappoint. And when you got a beautiful dry day, you can put this thing in sport mode and absolutely throw it over. It's been fantastic. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is that little dead zone in the throttle. So that's something to keep in mind. Power delivery, though, in sport mode is just constant and fun and pulls you along. I absolutely love it. The suspension, the Kayaba front and rear suspension, I had never heard of Kayaba before looking into what this bike came stock with. I don't know much about Kayaba, can't even tell you guys right now about it, but I have railed this bike in Colorado. I'm, riding it these days here in Atlanta, and I have been really happy. So whatever Kayaba is, I am totally sold on their suspension. Brakes, I feel like we don't even really need to talk about. You got Brembo monoblocks up front. If you need more braking than that, I don't know what the hell type of riding you're doing. but you're a psychopath. The brakes on here are disgusting. You can come to a real quick stop by giving a squeeze on those brakes. Speaking of the brakes, we have a brake feel that is fantastic. I feel like I understand everything that's happening in those brakes when I pull on that front lever. Have absolutely loved that. Jumping to the other side, we can talk about the transmission. So we'd have that up and down quick shifter, and I've been utilizing it on this first ride, and it is great. I get a really good like hit when I shift gears with the quick shifter, but it's smooth. You know, it's like just enough to let me know what's going on, but it's not obtrusive and it doesn't mess up my ride. Quick shifter's absolutely pinpoint. When I have used the clutch, I have got a good feel with the clutch. I've got no issues with the transmission at all, as I would expect out of a Ducati product. Ducati is not letting me down on the Desert X. I have it a couple of times where the bike doesn't really want to get into neutral at low speeds unless I pull that clutch all the way in, like to the grip. The bike does have 2,400 miles on it, so it doesn't have a ton of miles on it, but I would expect the transmission to be bitten in or worn in perfectly. So I'm not really sure why it's being like that with neutral, but it definitely wants that clutch all the way pulled in. I will say, I've noticed that we're on a slight hill right now, and I noticed some of the other ADV bikes have that hill hold assist where you can get the front brake and like pull it in and hold, and it'll like lock the bike on an angle or something like that. That's something I really would like to see the Desert X have. It's got all the tech that it needs, but that's something that I don't think it has to have. But you know, this at a 937 cc's, I guess you could kind of call this like a middleweight ADV bike. And I've noticed other middleweight ADV bikes have the hill hold assist, I think. That's something I would like to see on the bike. Just don't have to have it. We'll just, if we're paying 17 grand, let's get some hill hold assist, you know what I'm saying? And then you start going, you're like, hill hold what? I don't give a shit. All right, guys, let's talk about the controls here on the bike. Now, I will remind you guys, this little handlebar bag is a aftermarket accessory. It does not come on the motorcycle. Let's talk about the controls, though. They're the greatest, like truly. I've told you guys on multiple first rides, Ducati and Triumph are #1 on button feel, button placement, how you use the controls. They're very intuitive with the menu. You do not get better than these controls on a Ducati. That's the end of my statement. Everything feels great. I get a great feedback when I click things, and everything just makes sense. I absolutely love it. To get to the mode, you just hold this button and it goes into the mode thing. Then you can easily go out of the modes, and if you hold the bottom arrow, you can adjust the bottom screen. If you hold the top arrow, you can go back and adjust the top screen, which is your settings menu. Speaking of the screen, you don't have a ton of real estate, but I do like the rally vibe that screen gives you. If you guys don't know what a rally screen is, it looks like this. Thank you, Bo, for putting that on the screen. But it's got a rally-inspired vertical screen, and I think that's really cool. I love the direction Ducati took that. And the thing I love the most is, even with doing that, you still get that really nice, crisp TFT dash, and you get all the regular modes. So when you go in to change the settings of the modes, which you can do, Ducati does this really cool thing of like they highlight in red the thing you're adjusting. So if you're changing the engine power of a specific mode, it'll show the motorcycle and then it'll highlight the engine in red, and then you can change the power to high, medium, or low. And they use terminology that's very understanding, and it's not confusing at all. I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's a huge deal, and I don't know why more companies don't do that. I really wish they would listen to Ducati or watch Ducati and replicate that, because it is by far the most easy way to understand changing modes on the bike. I noticed this change in Ducati once Audi bought them or did their merge or whatever, But ever since then, Ducati has been slaying. And I mean in all caps, slaying the dash game. Here, let me get into the menu and I can show you guys. So riding mode, sport. So you see how the engine, I'm talking about power, and the engine's red. ABS, the wheels are red. And then it's cornering. And you can literally see the settings at the bottom. It even gives you exclamation mark, rear ABS off. That's so cool. Then traction control, you got the rear wheel. Wheelie control, you got an arrow pointing the front wheel down. It's like Ducati just gets it, and I could not appreciate them more for that. Honestly, you know what? I'm gonna go out and say it. That is the one thing Ducati is doing right now that nobody else is even close to. So you guys need to watch out. All you other motorcycle manufacturers, watch Ducati. Copy them if you can, because my goodness. Alrighty guys, we've been talking a lot about the awesome Desert X here, so we're going to turn off here into the church parking lot. We're going to do a little walk around of the bike, because it is a very unique looking bike that I feel like is probably going to be pretty polarizing in the market. So let's get pulled off and check it out. Alrighty, kickstand down, hefty kickstand. And what, so this is something I've noticed about ADV bikes. Some of them feel more or less sketchy when you're on the kickstand. This kickstand and the way the bike is balanced, I feel so steady with this bike. Look at this. I can just move it all around. I don't worry at all. That, to me, is a huge deal when it comes to ADV bikes. And you want to know it and feel stable on these things when you get them over on the kickstand. Like I told you guys, almost 500 pounds. It's a lot of weight to mess with. So Ducati's doing awesome there. All right, guys, Desert X from Ducati, and my goodness, there is not another bike out right now that looks like this, at least in the ADV space. CF Moto just released their, like, CT1 Papio that kind of has this vibe that I also love that. Love the exhaust. Like, we got the Termi exhaust, the specific Desert X Termi exhaust. There is something happening with me right now, guys, and I love the thinness of these ADV bike exhaust. I assume that's so that the exhaust is kind of compact with the motorcycle and it doesn't stick out a lot, because, you know, these bikes are probably going to go down. You don't want them to get damaged. But I'm really digging those exhausts. Very similar taillight here as the Desert Sled that Ducati obviously has their Scrambler model. It reminds me of that. It might be the same headlight. Kind of looks like the same whole rear tail. So here we are with the bike. If you guys are wondering, I believe it has a 5.54 gallon tank. Here's one of the crazy things about the Desert X, though, and it's doing stuff that most ADV bikes are not doing. The accessories that they have for this bike is amazing. I love all the crazy accessories they have for this. You can go like sport mode, and they got the Termi exhaust and all that kind of stuff. You can go long haul mode, where you can get a rear tank, a gas tank that can hold like 2.1 gallons of gas. There's a lot of just really cool stuff that they're doing that I really appreciate, and I love that and they're from the OEM that you can get from Ducati, so you know everything's going to fit right. You know it's going to like be really integrated and work well. But yeah, overall, I love the look of the Desert X. Now, they do have a new kind of black and gray model, which looks really cool, but there's something about this white look with the red Ducati stripe. This is a Desert X to me, personally. Now, I think it looks awesome. That skid plate looks so substantial. That's awesome. If I owned a Desert X, if I was in that tax bracket and I could own one of these, I would definitely get the crash protection and the skid plate painted or powder coated this gloss black to match that. I think that would look freaking dope, especially with the headlight guards being black. But overall, guys, I love the look of this bike. You guys can let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. But I think it's a sick-looking ADV bike. It's also unique. You know, it doesn't look like all the other ones, which is kind of surprising from me, because I'm typically a beak style guy, and we don't have a beak here. So, guys, before I get back on the bike and we decide if I'm on a purchase or pass with this thing and do the handlebar lock test, I'm going to do some vertical content for the guys over on TikTok and Instagram. If you guys aren't following us, we're at Chaseontwowheels on TikTok, and we're at C2WPics on Instagram. Make sure you go follow so you guys can check out the content we're putting out over there. Alrighty, guys, that's it for my vertical stuff. let's get back on this thing. Let me show you guys what this thing can do with a handlebar lock. And then let's have a conversation. Purchase or pass, where am I going? It's a big decision. All right, handlebar lock test on the Ducati Desert X. Look at this. All right, let's see what it does. Let's see. That throttle, see? Not a huge fan of the throttle. My goodness, though. Bro, that's top 4. That's top 4, and that's on a 500-pound motorcycle. What is life right now? Oh, that's awesome. All right, guys. So, I mean, you guys have seen the other ADV bikes in the class. If you haven't, check out my first rides. I've done plenty of them. The steering stem lock on these ADV bikes is disgusting every single time, and we got some room. Let's go. All right, guys, who is this bike for, and would I purchase or pass on it? So, guys, the mix of riding that I've done on this thing, both in Aspen, Colorado, and here local to Atlanta on the streets, I feel like the ideal person for this motorcycle. One, you gotta want that taller motorcycle. You gotta want that ADV style thing. But this might be one of the best motorcycles to be your one and only bike. I have really pushed this thing on the road way more than I really would have expected to. And it is so happy being thrown over. And it really benefits from that Ducati DNA of being totally fine ridden hard. And it does, I don't think I've ridden a better motorcycle that can go from literally just leaning it all the way over on the road, and then you being like, oh look, there's a dirt road, let me go down that. It's literally a 2-second mode change, and you're fully prepared to handle off-road. This bike can be put in literally any situation other than the extreme, like a track day, and it will perform incredibly well. I think Ducati just absolutely killed it with this bike. Another thing about the ideal client, this bike is going to come in around, I think, 17 grand, which is definitely on the upper end of what you can expect to pay if you're in the 900-ish cc class for an ADV bike. Not even the Triumph Tiger 900 Rally Pro comes in at that price. I mean, granted, it's close, but this is pretty top range. Luckily, all of that money is being spent in the right direction. You're getting fantastic rider aids. You've got class-leading brakes. You've got an incredible engine. You guys are probably picking up what I'm putting down. Is this bike a purchase or pass? If you are able to afford a Ducati and all the things that come with a Ducati, and you're looking for a quote-unquote mid-sized ADV bike, bro, I don't think there's a better thing on the market. Between the press launch and the riding I've done around town, this bike is just so versatile, and it's good at literally everything. It's really a great bike, and I love it. I'm so excited that we're going to have this in the shop for a month. Hopefully Ducati's cool with me taking it off-road here. I would love to do some like Georgia off-road and see what it's like in that environment. It makes the argument a lot harder when this bike is literally good at everything. You can buy this motorcycle, yeah, it's expensive, but you buy this bike and it can do everything incredibly well. So it's like, why buy 2 or 3 motorcycles when you can just buy this one? I don't know. That's where I'm coming in at this. I think Ducati smashed it out of the park with the Desert X. And I definitely think you guys should check it out. Before we get out of here, got to give a shout out to Ducati for letting us loan the motorcycle. And if you guys want to see a specific video on the Desert X, let us know in the comments down below, and I will do my best to make that video for you. And guys, I'm Chaseontwowheels. Make sure to stick around to see another video I think you guys would enjoy. You guys ride safe, and I'll see you on the next First Ride. Later. If you're at the end, you're at the outro crew, so put OC in your comment. Love you more. Bye.